Tupper Butler Law. Michelle Butler rejoins me once again, and we're going to talk about what she does to give you peace of mind. Now is the perfect time for that. So before we get started, welcome back, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, John.
A little bit of an overview of what you specialize in, if you would.
I specialize in estate planning and elder law, which translates to helping you prepare for the end of life and make sure that what you have built your entire life remains for your care or your family.
All right, let's talk about why now is a good time. Hopefully, if you're watching the show, Mom and Dad are doing great, and you're looking forward to the holidays, and everything is normal, but you help families really get in front of things. That's really the important part of this, is pre-planning. How do you help families? Your specialty, how does it help families?
Well, unfortunately, we have a reality where at some point we will not be here anymore. If we are lucky and make it to old age, as we all hope to do, then we may need additional medical help later in life. And that medical help often comes at a price. So what people don't understand is that they do not need to spend all of their hard-earned money on later medical care or long-term care needs. If they plan in advance, there are actually benefits available to them that I can help protect hundreds of thousands of dollars for people as they age.
And to be clear, Michelle, for those who are in crisis mode, let's say something has happened, you can still help them.
Absolutely.
You just find it easier because you've been through this before. I know I've asked you to tell your personal story before, but your father, who is the Tupper part of Tupper and Butler Law.
Yes.
So tell us about your experience with your dad.
Well, after being a lawyer for almost 15 years, I found myself completely upended and not knowing how to handle a crisis in my own family when my recently retired, otherwise perfectly healthy father managed just to simply trip in his home and suffer a spinal cord injury that left him a quadriplegic. I did not have any idea what to do because he had not made a plan. We were a close family and assumed that we would be able to speak for each other at the time. Unfortunately, when thrust into a sort of traumatic event like that, those aren't exactly the most important things that you want to think about. You just want to be there for the person who's hurt.
And that's when I talk about peace of mind. You know, in that time of crisis, that's what you want, is time to spend with your loved one, not worried about details, estate planning, etc. So for those who maybe are watching and saying, okay, why would I hire Tupper and Butler when I can go to a website and kind of do it myself? Why would you discourage that?
Well, the availability of legal documents on the internet now actually is a big problem and keeps many attorneys in business. Those kinds of documents are cookie-cutter documents that really cater to the broadest population possible and pay no mind to individual needs or priorities, and often are not even accurate. The LegalZoom and other types of websites or products ask you to be the attorney, and you simply don't know what you don't know. There's also changes in the law that can happen along the way. And in a time of crisis, it's nice to have a human being to call on to just pick that burden up off your shoulders and carry it for you and know the right way to do it.
Michelle, you mentioned estate planning, so if you would expand on that a little bit. What other kind of details do you cover? And it's more than details. These are critical, especially if you want to keep, you know, Mom and Dad's estate intact, if you want money to transfer to how they would wish it to be transferred. So tell me about other things that you handle here.
Well, so many people don't understand that an estate plan is simply any property that someone owns. It is just as important for every single kind of family and socioeconomic class in the country. So what I do is I make sure that people are able to express their wishes for both how their property is handled or transferred while they're alive, or in the event of an accident, or after they pass away. We all have heard drama of a family having conflict after someone dies because the money was not explicitly listed in the way that either works for the court to approve, because every single will must go to court, or if you have no plan, then you must go to court. So what I try to do is help families avoid those court experiences, avoid the conflict, and ask the questions that they may not have an easy time asking each other to also protect healthcare decisions, because that's an important part of planning.
And the last time you were on, I called it a gift, and I do believe that, Michelle, because it is the gift of being able to be with your siblings, other loved ones, members of the family, and really fondly look back at that person, if that's the case, and be able to tell good stories instead of worrying about, oh, I have so many of these details to take care of, and you're so stressed in an already stressful and emotional situation. Now, for those who are watching, and they say, this sounds really involved, this sounds like a lot of time, I don't know if I have time to deal with this, what would you say?
I would say that it will need to be dealt with at some point, and you save time dealing with it now. I can do all of the work remotely, and
it's pretty easy.
It's
for you.
3 meetings or so. I take the burden off to know what questions to ask, how to help prioritize things that you may not think of. I can also link other members of the family who may be in different states. I can operate fully virtually. I'm also a bit different from other firms or attorneys in town in that I understand what life is like as a working mom. And so I do not limit my appointments to business hours. I know the need for having an attorney that's accessible. So calling Tupper Butler Law means that you're calling me, and I will be the one to respond to you. I will be the one answering your questions and your emails, and I will be the one working with you through the process.
Maybe some folks out there have noticed they're talking to mom and dad about holiday plans, whatever, and they're noticed they're not functioning as well mentally. They're seeing them slip a little bit, and it distresses them, and they know now is the time. But they're also thinking, okay, it's COVID, this pandemic. How can I meet with Michelle? She's an expert. I'm telling you, this resume is so impressive as far as your legal background.
Thank you.
But for those who say, how do we handle this during COVID? Can you? How do you do that?
Absolutely. I will give a free 30 to 45-minute conversation initially through Zoom or your preferred internet connection or telephone. That means that we can get straight to the point without you having to sit through a 2-hour workshop or long Zoom seminar. And from there, I learn more about your situation and how to help you prioritize. I explain my process and how I work with you. And if we take the next steps, then we can have a plan put together in a few meetings and as 1 or 2 months.
Tell me the importance of, because I hear this often, power of attorney. How important is that, Michelle, with the matters that you're dealing with and that we're talking about now?
Yes. So power of attorney means a couple of different things depending on whether it's for health care or for financial needs. There are different kinds of powers of attorney. In Kentucky, they've just changed the rules for some power of attorney. For me, I find it to be one of the more complicated documents in law, and this is coming from someone who spent almost 15 years litigating against the United States in significant fraud cases. I think that most powers of attorney either give too much, where someone is able to then have full control immediately over a person's financial life, or it doesn't do enough. And then when there is a crisis, the power of attorney that was executed is not enough to allow someone to perhaps set up a special needs trust for someone who's been injured, or have other kinds of gifting to avoid higher taxes.
For those who are watching now and they're saying, oh, I want to put this off. Okay, we know this is this topic is a little sensitive here. Why not procrastinate? Of all the people, you know probably better than most that procrastination is not the way to go in this matter. If mom and dad are healthy, thank goodness, knock on wood, we hope it continues. But it could happen any day at any time. So tell them the importance of really, doing this and pre-planning, the importance of it.
I can't be more passionate about the need to pre-plan. My father fell after just a few months of retirement when he was super healthy and enjoying his life and looking forward to retirement, and all of our lives were completely transformed. I had no idea what to do. My brother and I were lucky in that we agreed while he was in ICU, unable to speak for himself. But luckily, he came back, and we were able to spend 3 wonderful years with him, put a plan together. So at the time when he recently passed away, we were not in any way having to grapple with questions of what should we do, what would he want. We don't have any guilt. We were able to just be with him as his children and love him until he took his last breath.
As you can tell, she's the person you want to talk to there. Once again, Tupper Butler Law. Yes, call her pre-plan now. Make that appointment today, and we'll be right back and chat with Don G. on Wave 3 Listens Live.